The rain fell relentlessly, a steady patter against the rooftops of the sleepy town of Shizukawa. Yumi Tanaka, now soaking through her cardigan, shivered as she stood before the imposing iron gates of Yurei cemetery. Her senses tingling, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Her wristwatch showed midnight, and her breath formed ghostly plumes in the frigid air. Earlier that evening, she had found herself curled up in the dimly lit attic of her parents' antique shop, engrossed in the old cryptic diary she'd discovered years ago. The pages had revealed a chilling prophecy about a cursed moon and the dead rising from their graves. Yumi's dreams had been more vivid and distressing lately, each one leading her to this very cemetery, to this night. There was no turning back. With a deep breath, she pushed open the rusted gates and stepped into the darkness. The cemetery was a morbid labyrinth of crumbling tombstones, twisted trees and mausoleums that looked like they hadn't been touched in centuries. Her flashlight flickered ominously, casting specters of shadow that danced around her. As she delved deeper, Yumi's sixth sense pricked at her consciousness. The air grew colder, and an inexplicable dread wrapped itself around her like a noose. Her heart pounded when she finally reached the grave marked in the diary, a nameless headstone, overgrown with moss and half-buried under detritus. She knelt, brushing away the leaves and mud with trembling hands. Beneath the grime, she found strange symbols etched into the stone. Just as she traced the final symbol with her fingertip, a chilling gust of wind extinguished her flashlight. Darkness swallowed her scream. The ground beneath her began to quake, sending vibrations up her spine. Slowly, Yumi stood and backed away, eyes locked on the headstone. The soil shifted, bulging upward as skeletal fingers clawed through the earth. She stumbled and fell, watching in horror as the dead emerged, clad in ragged shrouds, their eyes vacant, yet somehow aware. They moved with a disjointed, jerky gait, their decayed limbs cracking and wheezing with each motion. Yumi scrambled to her feet, desperation driving her steps. The diary had hinted at a spell to subdue the risen dead, but in her panic, her mind went blank. As she backed into a tree, a guttural moan echoed through the night, an unholy symphony of the damned. One of the undead lurched toward her, its skeletal hand outstretched. Yumi screamed, her eyes wide in sheer terror. Just then, the memories of her vivid dreams came rushing back. Snippets of ancient chants and hallowed incantations. Desperate, she closed her eyes and began to recite the words from her dreams, her voice trembling but growing more resolute with each syllable. The ground trembled anew, this time with a powerful surge that knocked her to her knees. The zombies froze, their eyes dulling before they collapsed in a heap of bones. Silence enveloped the cemetery once more, save for the rain now easing into a gentle drizzle. Gasping for breath, Yumi rose to her feet, feeling an eerie calm settle over her. She knew this wasn't the end. The diary held more secrets, more dark prophecies she'd have to face. But for tonight, Yumi had survived. She had glimpsed into the abyss and walked away stronger. The supernatural forces at play had tested her, but with each encounter, she grew more prepared for the sinister path laid out before her. With a final glance at the now silent grave, Yumi made her way back to the iron gates. As she closed them behind her, she could almost feel the piercing gaze of unseen eyes, promising her that the veil between the living and the dead was thinner than she had ever imagined. And somewhere in the shadows, they were waiting for her return.